Have you noticed that lately you wake up feeling more exhausted than you should? Even after a full night's sleep, maybe your legs feel heavier, your skin looks duller, your energy just isn't what it used to be. And you've probably told yourself what millions of Americans over 50 tell themselves every single day: it's just aging. But what if it isn't? What if those quiet, almost forgettable changes are the first warning signs that your kidneys are under silent stress right now, and you don't even know it? Here's the hard truth: kidney decline in the United States is exploding, and most people never feel it coming. There's no sharp pain, no dramatic alarm, no moment that forces you to stop. Your creatinine can rise slowly for years while you go about your life completely unaware, until one day your doctor says the words no one wants to hear. Your kidney function is dropping, and once that decline accelerates, it doesn't just affect your lab numbers. It affects your strength, your independence, your future. I'm Dr. Johnny, and today I need you to pay very close attention because what you're about to learn could change the trajectory of your kidneys before it's too late. Contrary to what many people believe, the problem isn't simply too much protein. In fact, the right proteins chosen carefully and strategically can actually reduce stress on your kidneys, calm inflammation, protect filtration cells, and help stabilize creatinine naturally. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly which proteins support your kidneys instead of overloading them, and why most people are unknowingly choosing the wrong ones every single day. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand not only what may be happening inside your body right now, but what you can start doing today to protect it. Most people over 50 make the same mistake. The moment they hear their creatinine is rising, they panic and cut protein completely. It sounds logical. Less protein, less waste, less pressure on the kidneys. Right. Not exactly. In fact, one of the fastest ways to push creatinine higher is losing muscle mass, and that's exactly what happens when protein intake drops too low. Let me tell you about Robert, 68 years old. His doctor warned him about protecting his kidneys, so he stopped eating eggs, stopped eating chicken, and switched mostly to toast and soup. 3 months later, his creatinine hadn't improved, it had climbed. Why? Because after 60 adults lose 1 to 2% of muscle per year, and when muscle breaks down, creatinine rises as a natural byproduct. The issue wasn't protein itself, it was the type. This is where egg whites change the conversation. Egg whites are one of the cleanest, lowest residue protein sources available. They contain virtually no fat, minimal phosphorus compared to many animal proteins, and they generate significantly less nitrogen waste than red meat. That means your muscles receive high-quality essential amino acids without overwhelming filtration units. Nephrology guidelines frequently rank egg whites among the safest protein options for patients with kidney concerns. For this reason, efficient utilization lowers metabolic burden. So instead of starving your body, you strategically support it. You preserve muscle, you stabilize creatinine instead of triggering a silent spike. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another factor silently increasing kidney stress that most people never consider. What if I told you your kidneys aren't just struggling because of what you eat, but because of what your body fails to eliminate? After muscle preservation, the next silent battlefield is your gut. Most people never connect digestion to kidney health, yet the two are deeply linked. When fiber intake is too low, which is common in adults, over 50 waste products linger longer in the digestive tract, get reabsorbed into the bloodstream, and eventually land in the kidneys to be filtered. More toxins in circulation means more pressure on already vulnerable filtration units. This is where lentils step in, and they're far more powerful than they look. I once spoke to a 72-year-old woman, Margaret, who believed lentils were just carbs. But after incorporating them into her meals 3 times a week, her digestion improved, her blood sugar stabilized, and her lab markers stopped creeping upward. Why? Because lentils deliver 2 protective forces at once: plant-based protein and soluble fiber. Research has shown that higher fiber intake is associated with lower circulating uremic toxins and improved metabolic stability. Fiber binds waste in the gut, reducing the toxic load that kidneys must handle. Even more critical, lentils have a low glycemic impact. Blood sugar spikes damage delicate kidney blood vessels over time. Stable glucose means less microvascular stress, and that means better long-term filtration support. So now you're protecting muscle and reducing toxin load before it ever reaches your kidneys. But knowing this alone isn't enough because there's another hidden trigger quietly accelerating kidney damage in ways most people never see coming. Now here's something most people never hear from their doctor. Your kidneys are not fighting this battle alone. Your gut is either helping them or hurting them every single day. And this is where Greek yogurt changes the equation. Let me explain why this matters. Inside your digestive system live trillions of bacteria. Some protect you. Others produce harmful compounds when they overgrow. One of the most concerning is a toxin called indoxyl sulfate, a byproduct formed in the gut absorbed into the bloodstream and strongly associated in research with faster kidney decline. In other words, kidney stress doesn't always start in the kidneys. Sometimes it starts in your microbiome. I remember a patient, Linda, 65, who struggled with bloating, irregular digestion, and slowly rising creatinine. She focused on salt, protein, even water intake, but no one had talked to her about gut balance. After switching to plain, unsweetened Greek yogurt daily, her digestion stabilized within weeks. Why does that matter? Because high-quality Greek yogurt contains concentrated protein that digests slowly and probiotics that help rebalance gut bacteria. Studies suggest that improving gut microbiota can reduce circulating uremic toxins, meaning fewer harmful compounds reach the kidneys in the first place. But here's the critical detail: it must be plain. No flavored cups, no added sugar. Sugar fuels harmful bacteria and spikes blood glucose, which further stresses kidney blood vessels. When your gut improves, toxin production decreases. When toxin load decreases, kidney filtration faces less strain. But knowing this alone isn't enough because there's another silent driver of kidney damage that works even faster, and most people are unknowingly feeding it every day. Let's talk about the fire most people don't realize is burning inside their body right now. Chronic inflammation. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't scream, but it quietly irritates blood vessels, damages delicate kidney filtration cells, and accelerates creatinine rise over time. And after 50, low-grade inflammation becomes more common, especially if blood sugar fluctuates or circulation slows down. This is where chia seeds step in, and they may look small, but their impact is anything but small. I once met a 70-year-old man who believed inflammation only came from obvious illness. Yet his lab work showed elevated inflammatory markers and borderline kidney function. He wasn't eating processed junk, but he wasn't consuming anti-inflammatory nutrients either. After adding soaked chia seeds daily to his breakfast, something subtle shifted. His energy improved, his digestion improved, and over time his markers stabilized. Here's why that matters. Chia seeds are rich in plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, known to support anti-inflammatory pathways in the body. They also absorb water and form a gel-like consistency in the gut. That gel slows glucose absorption, preventing sharp blood sugar spikes, and repeated glucose spikes are known to damage the tiny blood vessels in the kidneys. Research consistently links improved omega-3 intake with better vascular health and reduced systemic inflammation. Better circulation means gentler filtration. Gentler filtration means less long-term stress. So now you're preserving muscle-reducing toxin load from the gut and calming internal inflammation. But knowing this alone isn't enough because there's another everyday protein that can either quietly harm your kidneys or strategically protect them. Now let's address one of the most misunderstood foods in kidney health: chicken breast. The moment many people hear meat, they assume danger. They imagine creatinine climbing kidneys, straining damage, accelerating. And yes, certain meats, especially processed or high-fat red meats, can increase metabolic waste and inflammatory burden. But lumping all animal protein into the same category is where many people go wrong. Chicken breast, when prepared properly, is different. I remember speaking with Daniel, 63, who completely eliminated meat after seeing a slight rise in his creatinine. Within months, he felt weaker. His grip strength declined. He struggled climbing stairs. His labs didn't dramatically improve, but his muscle loss was obvious. What he didn't understand was this: after 60, muscle preservation is directly tied to metabolic stability. When muscle tissue breaks down, creatinine increases as a natural byproduct. So starving your body of quality protein can backfire. Skinless baked or grilled chicken breast provides high biological value protein with relatively low saturated fat compared to red meat. It produces fewer inflammatory byproducts and when portioned correctly places significantly less metabolic strain on the kidneys than heavily processed or fatty cuts. Clinical nutrition guidance often emphasizes lean poultry as a safer animal protein option for individuals managing kidney health, especially when sodium and preparation methods are controlled. The key isn't overconsumption, it's precision, proper portions, clean preparation, no frying, no heavy sauces, no excess salt. At this point, you're supporting muscle-calming inflammation and reducing toxic load. But knowing this alone isn't enough because there's another small everyday snack that can either protect your kidney cells at a microscopic level or slowly leave them vulnerable. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you thought of almonds as kidney protection? Most people see them as just a snack, a handful of nuts between meals. Nothing dramatic, nothing powerful. But sometimes the most underestimated foods carry the strongest cellular defense. Here's why almonds matter. As we age, oxidative stress increases. It's a silent process where unstable molecules slowly damage tissues, including the tiny filtration units in your kidneys called nephrons. This damage doesn't show up overnight. It accumulates, year after year, and over time, filtration efficiency weakens. I once spoke with Carol, 71, who had stable but borderline kidney function. Her blood pressure fluctuated, her energy dipped. She wasn't eating poorly, but she wasn't actively protecting her cells either. After incorporating a controlled portion of almonds daily, about 20 to 23 nuts, something shifted. Her blood pressure stabilized. Her energy evened out. Small changes, but meaningful ones. Almonds are rich in vitamin E, a powerful antioxidant known to combat oxidative stress at the cellular level. They also provide magnesium, which supports healthy blood vessel relaxation and blood pressure regulation. And remember, high blood pressure is one of the leading drivers of kidney decline in the United States. Better vascular stability means gentler filtration pressure. Gentler pressure means long-term protection. Of course, portion size matters. Too much of anything can become a burden. Precision is key. By now, you're preserving muscle, lowering toxin load, calming inflammation, and shielding kidney cells from oxidative damage. But knowing this alone isn't enough because there's another protein that works even deeper at the level of blood flow itself, and its impact can be profound. Now we move to something far more powerful than most people realize: blood flow. Because here's the truth, your kidneys are not just filters. They are vascular organs. Nearly 20% of your blood supply passes through them every minute. If circulation weakens, filtration weakens. If vessels stiffen, pressure rises. And when pressure rises, delicate kidney tissue suffers. This is where salmon becomes more than just a dinner choice. It becomes strategic protection. I once worked with a retired firefighter, James, 66. Strong man, active, but his creatinine kept inching upward. He wasn't overweight. He didn't eat junk. What he did have, though, was chronic low-grade inflammation and borderline hypertension. After introducing wild-caught salmon twice a week and replacing processed meats, his blood pressure improved, and over time his kidney numbers stabilized instead of continuing to climb. Salmon is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, EPA, and DHA compounds consistently studied for their anti-inflammatory and vascular supporting properties. Research links higher omega-3 intake to improved endothelial function, meaning healthier blood vessels and better circulation. And better circulation means your kidneys receive steady oxygen-rich blood without excessive pressure. But there's another layer. Omega-3s help calm systemic inflammation, reducing stress on filtration cells. When inflammation decreases, microvascular damage slows. When blood vessels relax, filtration becomes more efficient. 2 servings per week, baked or grilled, not fried, not drowned in sodium-heavy sauces. Precision matters. At this point, you're protecting muscle detox pathways, cellular health, and circulation. But knowing this alone isn't enough because there's another protein source many seniors avoid, yet it may be one of the smartest ways to support strength without overloading the kidneys. Now let's talk about something that makes many people over 60 immediately uncomfortable: protein powder. The moment they hear it, they picture bodybuilders, heavy shakes, artificial ingredients, and unnecessary strain on the kidneys. And to be fair, some protein powders absolutely can create excessive nitrogen waste, increase acid load, and place stress on already vulnerable filtration systems. That fear didn't come from nowhere. But not all protein powders are created equal. This is where pea protein changes the narrative. I remember a 69-year-old woman named Susan who had stopped eating enough protein because chewing meat became difficult after dental issues. Her appetite dropped, her muscle mass declined, and her creatinine slowly crept upward. She was afraid to use protein powder because she thought it would hurt her kidneys. When we introduced a clean, unsweetened pea protein moderate dose once daily, her strength improved within weeks. More importantly, her labs stabilized instead of worsening. Here's why that matters. Pea protein is plant-based and generally produces a lower acid load compared to many animal-derived powders. Excess dietary acid forces the kidneys to work harder to maintain balance. Reducing that acid burden may ease metabolic stress. Pea protein also contains arginine, an amino acid associated with supporting blood vessel relaxation and circulation, which, as we've discussed, is critical for kidney health. The key is quality and moderation. No added sugars, no artificial additives, no megadoses. Used strategically, pea protein can help preserve muscle without dramatically increasing metabolic waste. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's another gentle, everyday protein that many people underestimate, and its impact on phosphorus balance could make a critical difference. Now let's talk about a protein that has been misunderstood for decades: tofu. Some people dismiss it immediately. They think it's bland, overprocessed, not real food. Others avoid it because they've heard conflicting myths. But when it comes to kidney health, tofu deserves a second look, especially if creatinine or phosphorus levels are becoming a concern. Here's why. As kidney function declines, managing phosphorus becomes increasingly important. Excess phosphorus in the blood can pull calcium from bones, weaken vascular integrity, and place additional stress on filtration units. Many animal proteins, especially red meats and processed dairy, contain higher phosphorus loads that are more readily absorbed by the body. Tofu is different. It provides complete plant-based protein while typically delivering a lower bioavailable phosphorus load compared to many animal sources. That distinction matters. Lower phosphorus burden means less long-term mineral imbalance and less strain on delicate kidney structures. I once spoke with a 64-year-old man, Alan, who loves steak, but was told his phosphorus was creeping upward. Instead of eliminating protein altogether, he replaced several weekly red meat meals with simple tofu stir-fries. Within months, his lab values stabilized, and he didn't feel deprived. He felt empowered. Tofu also offers the benefit of being easy to digest and versatile. It can be baked, lightly sautéed, added to soups without heavy sodium sauces or deep frying. Clean preparation makes the difference. At this stage, you've addressed muscle preservation, inflammation, circulation, oxidative stress, toxin load, and phosphorus balance. But knowing this alone isn't enough, because there's one final protein often overlooked that may reduce metabolic residue more than almost anything else on this list. Now let's talk about a protein that has been misunderstood for decades: tofu. Some people dismiss it immediately. They think it's bland, overprocessed, not real food. Others avoid it because they've heard conflicting myths. But when it comes to kidney health, tofu deserves a second look, especially if creatinine or phosphorus levels are becoming a concern. Here's why. As kidney function declines, managing phosphorus becomes increasingly important. Excess phosphorus in the blood can pull calcium from bones, weaken vascular integrity, and place additional stress on filtration units. Many animal proteins, especially red meats and processed dairy, contain higher phosphorus loads that are more readily absorbed by the body. Tofu is different. It provides complete plant-based protein while typically delivering a lower bioavailable phosphorus load compared to many animal sources. That distinction matters. Lower phosphorus burden means less long-term mineral imbalance and less strain on delicate kidney structures. I once spoke with a 64-year-old man, Alan, who loves steak, but was told his phosphorus was creeping upward. Instead of eliminating protein altogether, he replaced several weekly red meat meals with simple tofu stir-fries. Within months, his lab values stabilized and he didn't feel deprived. He felt empowered. Tofu also offers the benefit of being easy to digest and versatile. It can be baked, lightly sautéed, added to soups without heavy sodium sauces or deep frying. Clean preparation makes the difference. At this stage, you've addressed muscle preservation, inflammation and circulation, oxidative stress, toxin load, and phosphorus balance. But knowing this alone isn't enough because there's one final protein often overlooked that may reduce metabolic residue more than almost anything else on this list. Now we arrive at the one almost no one expects: spirulina. Most people walk past it in a health store and never give it a second thought. A green powder, a superfood trend, something for smoothies and fitness influencers. But beneath that surface is one of the most metabolically efficient protein sources available, and that matters when your kidneys are under pressure. Here's the difference. When your body breaks down most proteins, it produces nitrogen waste that must be filtered. Even clean animal proteins create metabolic byproducts. Spirulina, a blue-green algae, is unusually dense in bioavailable amino acids, while generating comparatively low metabolic residue. Scientists often describe it as a low-residue protein because the body absorbs it efficiently, leaving less waste for filtration. I once spoke with a 70-year-old patient who struggled with appetite loss and early-stage kidney decline. Heavy meals exhausted him. Large portions felt overwhelming. Introducing a small daily dose of spirulina, just 1 teaspoon blended into water, gave him a concentrated protein source without adding bulk or significant digestive strain. Over time, his energy improved and his labs stopped trending upward. Spirulina also contains phycocyanin, a compound studied for antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Reduced oxidative stress means less microscopic damage to nephrons, the kidney's filtration units. Less inflammation means less long-term deterioration. But here's the critical point. Spirulina isn't magic. It's strategic. Small dose, clean source, consistency. And when you step back and look at everything, muscle preservation, toxin reduction, inflammation, control, circulation support, phosphorus balance, and now metabolic efficiency, you begin to see the full picture. But understanding these foods is only half the battle, because what you choose to do with this knowledge could determine the direction your kidneys take from here.